The eyes of the world will be upon this game. And not just any game, the game. The biggest rivalry in all of college football. A battle between two blue blood programs, once again unbeaten heading into this matchup. The winner not just going to the Big Ten championship, but also the college football playoff. It's the Buckeyes and the Wolverines, and there's nothing like it anywhere else. Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, ready to break down everything you need to know for the game, Ohio State and Michigan. Not just the game of the week, but maybe the game of the year. This game has everything, guys. The Buckeyes and the Wolverines entering the game at 11-0. The winner not just winning the Big Ten East, as we mentioned, but more than likely going on to the college football playoff. Because let's be honest, whoever wins this game will more than likely destroy Iowa in the Big Ten championship game. This is setting up to be another instant classic and another fine addition in this historic rivalry. You look at the history. Michigan has won the last two meetings over Ohio State by a combined 37 points. Neither game been very close the last couple of years. But the Wolverines have not won three straight in the series since 1995 to 1997. As we know, Jim Harbaugh will not be on the sidelines for this game. He missed the previous two games, will not be there for this game in Ann Arbor against the Buckeyes. But he's going to get them ready for it. He's getting them prepped for it. Can Ryan Day finally snap the streak and get the Buckeyes back to the Big Ten championship, or will Michigan extend their streak to 3 and send Ohio State fans back home wondering what the heck is going on, what's wrong, and should we start going a different direction? Let's take a look at this game, guys. Starting on the offensive side of the ball, Ohio State, they are absolutely phenomenal. 429 yards per game. Kyle McCord, I think, for some, maybe not for others, has exceeded expectations. Ohio State's averaging over 283 passing yards per game. McCord has thrown for nearly 3,000 yards and 22 touchdowns. This guy has been doing a phenomenal job and has delivered in the moments where it matters the most, right? I mean, you look at Ohio State's schedule. I mean, it's been relatively easy for the most part, but they still have a road win at Notre Dame. They still have a road win at Wisconsin. They still have a big home win over Penn State, who once again is probably going to finish the year at 10-2, unable to get the big wins over Michigan or Ohio State. But you look at the talent also surrounding Kyle McCord. New quarterback, he needs a strong supporting cast. He's had that. Travion Henderson, over 790 yards, 10 touchdowns. The best wide receiver in the country. And Marvin Harrison Jr., over 1,000 yards on the year, 13 touchdowns. This guy is a top 3, top 5 draft pick come April's NFL draft. You look at guys that have also stepped up as well. Cade Stover has done a phenomenal job stepping up for Ohio State in the pass-catching game, especially when Emeka Egbuka went down with an injury early on in the year, although he should be back fully ready to go. You look at Ohio State guys, again, they are electric. They're lighting up the scoreboard left and right, but against good defenses, right? I'm not going to say have struggled, but they have not been nearly as electric as some would have wanted them to be or some would have expected, right? Notre Dame, Penn State, Wisconsin, those are the three best defenses that Ohio State has faced so far this year. The Buckeyes have averaged just 20.3 points per game in those matchups. Yes, they won all three of those games, but they never exceeded 24 points in any of those. So a bit of a concern as they go up against a very strong Michigan defense, which we'll break down shortly. Look at Michigan offensively. They're averaging over 400 yards per game, and they are balanced. 228 passing yards per game, 171 rushing yards per game. J.J. McCarthy, say what you want about him. He's a dang good quarterback. I will stand by that. I think he's a very good quarterback. Very efficient, very, I think methodical and knows the game well. He takes phenomenal care of the football. Over 2,300 yards, 18 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions. And he's got a strong supporting cast around him as well, but more so in the running game than the pass-catching game. Blake Corum, over 880 rushing yards, 20 rushing touchdowns on the year, will be playing in this game. He got injured right before the Ohio State game last year, missed out on that, missed out on the Big Ten championship, missed out on their playoff run, but Corum back fully healthy. Donovan Edwards also there. Corum and Edwards, one of the best 1-2 punches at the running back position in the entire country. Edwards torched Ohio State in last year's meeting. He hasn't played as big of a role this year, only 323 rushing yards, but is going to be there to give Blake Corum some relief when he needs it. I will say this. Michigan, while they've been great offensively, while their schedule hasn't been, very difficult, the best game they've won is against Penn State, they do not do not own the edge at the wide receiver position, right? I mean, Ohio State's got them beat there by a landslide. Their best wide receiver is Rowan Wilson, and we hope he'll be good to go to play in this game. He was injured and left the game last week against Maryland. Outside of that, Michigan doesn't really have anybody. They're a team that relies heavily on their defense. It's going to rely heavily on their offensive line to open up running lanes for their running backs. That's what they need. And if they can't do that, J.J. McCarthy's going to have to deliver with a mediocre core of wide receivers that, again, does not own the edge over Ohio State's core of wide receivers. Take a look at the defense. What a battle here. We talk about the offense, both of them are good, but you got the number 1 defense in the country at Michigan, the number 3 defense in the country in Ohio State. The Buckeyes, again, are number 1 in the country in stopping the pass. Not good news if you're J.J. McCarthy and these mediocre Michigan wide receivers. 144.4 passing yards per game. That's all Ohio State has allowed this year. They're giving up less than 150 passing yards per game. They're 21st in the nation against the run, allowing just 108 rushing yards per game. The Buckeyes have not allowed over 17 points all season long. That's an amazing stat. And again, I know their schedule has been very, very easy as well, but it has been more difficult than Michigan's. Again, on the road at Notre Dame, on the road at Wisconsin. Penn State is a joint game they had there. Michigan goes on the road, wins that game by 9. Ohio State plays Penn State at home, wins that game by 8. Buckeyes have 21 sacks to force 11 turnovers on the year. What they've got to do to win this game is force Michigan to be one-dimensional. And really what I'm looking at here is if you can stop the run, which is how Ohio State has lost the game and gotten burned the last 2 years. Michigan has just been so dominant up front and so dominant in the ground game. Ohio State couldn't stop it. If they stop the run and force J.J. McCarthy and these receivers to win the game through the air against the number 1 passing defense in the country, it might not go well for the Wolverines. That's what you got to do if you're Ohio State. You've gotten torched on the ground each of the last 2 years. Don't let it happen again. Do not let it happen again. Michigan, number 1 overall defense in the land, allowing just 234.8 total yards per game. That's it. Ohio State has the number 1 passing defense. Michigan has the number 2 passing defense, allowing just 145 passing yards per game. They're also 9th against the run, allowing just 90 rushing yards per game. So what I'm seeing here is really, I don't expect Ohio State, Travion Henderson, anybody for the Buckeyes to have much success on the ground against the Wolverines. I don't expect that at all. I think it's going to come down to, obviously, Kyle McCord winning this game through the air and then seeing if Michigan offensively is able to remain balanced. If you take away that balance for the Wolverines, things could get tricky. If they can't, I think Michigan's going to be in a good spot. Again, if you're Michigan, you've got to go out there and pressure the young quarterback and Kyle McCord as much as possible. This is going to be one of the toughest environments that he has played in his young career. Yes, we know he won in South Bend. Yes, we know he won at Camp Randall Stadium in Madison. Didn't play all that great in either, though. A little erratic at Notre Dame, 240 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, but only 240 yards. 226 yards on the road at Wisconsin, 2 touchdowns, also 2 interceptions. And if Wisconsin had even a lick of an offense, Badgers probably do win that game, thanks to all the turnovers that Ohio State committed, all the mistakes they made in Madison. So if you're Michigan, you got the big house, you got the crowd on your side. You've got to go after this young quarterback, force him into some mistakes. You've got to get after him and force Ohio State into 2nd and 3rd and long situations. That's what you do to win this game. And this is a Michigan team that had forced 19 turnovers. Last week against Maryland, phenomenal performance. 2 safeties, 2 interceptions, 3 turnovers total. If you're Michigan, that's the recipe to success. It's forcing Ohio State into mistakes, not allowing the huge, big chunk plays, not allowing Marvin Harrison Jr. to catch a 5-yard slant, turn it into 60 yards. Keep the receivers in front of you. Don't allow the big plays, and force them into mistakes. That's a lot to cover, I know. But if Michigan can do that, which is what they've done the last couple of years, they're going to be okay. They will be okay. So what's going to happen, guys? I mean, this is another unbelievable, and I feel like we've been saying this the last couple of years, right? The last few years we've had undefeated Michigan, undefeated Ohio State, 1 loss versus an undefeated. I mean, the last few years, these games have decided who's going to win the Big Ten East. They've decided more than likely who's going to go to the college football playoff out of the Big Ten. And last year, we were fortunate enough to see both teams make the college football playoff. Michigan and Ohio State both made it and both lost in the semifinals in absolute classics. I don't think it's going to happen again. I think the loser of this game is out because of how tough the college football playoff race is this year. So the winner goes, the loser, despite finishing 11-1, probably will not have the benefit of slipping in to the college football playoff like we've seen in years past. And ultimately, guys, the loser, who will be staying home this year, will once again be Ohio State. Look, Michigan, guys, I've had them as my number 1 team in the country for the majority of the year. They were my preseason national championship pick. They were my preseason national champion. And I'm sticking by that. At home, at the big house, this is a team that knows how to beat Ohio State. For years and years and years, they couldn't get over the hump. And I think it just took one win for them to finally wake up and go, we can do this. They've got the home crowd on their side. They got an amazing defense. This is going to be a very tough test for Ohio State's offense. I think it's going to be back and forth. I don't see either team exceeding 28 points in this game. But Michigan does win at home. That's the key here. They win the game at home. This is a team that is hungry. They're out to prove a point. They're out to show they can win without the Stein stealing. They can win without their coach. This is a team out for blood. And I don't think they're going to slip up at home to Ohio State. Michigan wins their third straight against the Buckeyes behind a strong defensive performance in a ground game that Ohio State still has not figured out how to stop. The Wolverines remain undefeated. They go to the Big Ten Championship. They win that, and they are back in the college football playoff. The question is, can the Wolverines finally get over the hump and get to the national championship, or will they fall short once again? So, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. We've got Michigan winning the game Saturday afternoon. We'll have you covered every step of the way. This is the game of the week, maybe the game of the year. Can't wait to break it down with you again on Sunday. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. And, of course, check out everything down in the description below, including those expert picks and our holiday special. Do not miss out on those exclusive spread picks specifically for you guys. Go check them out. Again, the link down in the description below. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.